Hello everyone, it's Suzanne Hart here, and I want to talk to you about this concept called creating a clearing. I want to specifically talk to you about creating a clearing in time. Some of you might call this a schedule, but this goes beyond and it's a little bigger than just creating a schedule, because it is how you actually look and value your time. I first became present to this when I got introduced to network marketing and I was still working a full-time job. At that point in time, I was working about 40 hours a week. I was traveling an hour to work, an hour from work. And I also had 3 boys all over the city in soccer, and they played almost all year round. Combine that with the responsibilities of raising a family, and my time was really, really full. I was what you would call busy. I was busy, busy, busy. The question was I busy doing things that were going to move my life and move the life of my family forward? And that was really what I had to evaluate as I built a schedule and created a clearing in time. So the first thing I got present to was there was something I really wanted to do, but when I looked at the 24 hours in a day, I had already maximized it. And what I realized was unless I scheduled the things that were important to me, they actually didn't get done. So as I began to create this clearing, what I really began to do for myself was look at what was actually important to me. What were the priorities in my life? Who were the people I really wanted to spend time with? And I had to clear time in my schedule to actually ensure that this happened. At that point, I realized that what got scheduled in my life got done, and what did not get scheduled did not get time. I also realized that I was giving time to things that were not moving my life forward. Now, why this is so important is I often watch people commit to doing something, but what they haven't recognized is they haven't created the clearing in their life, in their world, for this thing to actually get quality time. So when I was faced with this is what I actually had to do. I had to ask myself some great questions, some key questions. One was I had to ask myself, what were the non-negotiables in my life? And really, I realized that there were some things I still really had to do. Although I wanted to choose different, they were necessary at the time. One was going to my job, right? And really understanding that it took up a number of hours, so 40 hours a week. I also realized that there was family obligations that I really needed to be present for. So those also got scheduled. So my job got scheduled, my family obligations and responsibilities that had to be done by me got scheduled, and that was the key thing. Then I asked myself, what was important to me to ensure that I got done? Now, you know, one of the things at that point was I really began to take on taking care of Suzanne, taking care of my health. So I began to schedule things like working out. I began to schedule things like reading and meditation. And so I began to put those things in my schedule. Then I started to look at all the other responsibilities I had and all the things I really had to do at that time, or I was doing at that time. What really was present was I had to make some powerful choices about what was consuming my time. And I really had to ask myself, what was I willing to give up at this point in time to get something or achieve something I knew would move my life forward? And so as I looked at my life, and you know, it's funny because we all think that we're busy and we're producing. And as I looked at my life, there was things that I began to realize that were not producing anything. One was, admittedly, that when I got home, I was tired, and a certain amount of hours was just spent vegging on the couch in front of the television. So one of the choices I made was I eliminated TV. I actually cut cable and just stopped watching. And surprisingly, I gained a number of hours every night. The second thing I did was I really began to ask myself, what were the things that had to be done by me, and what were actually some of the things that could be done by someone else? Now this was really interesting because there was things like laundry, there was things like cleaning my house, there was things that driving people to and from locations. Those were things that, yes, they needed to be done, but they didn't necessarily have to be done by me. So one of the things that I was present to was that a lot of my time was consumed by things that didn't have to be done by me, but more importantly, I was not yet willing to ask for help and support. So as I created my clearing in time so I could put into my life the new things that I believe would move myself forward, I began to ask for some support. One was to ask the grandparents of my children to help. And they did. They began to try to help bring the boys to and from soccer and do different things. And that freed up time. Another thing I started to do was we got a housekeeper. Now, many would say, you know, I can't afford a housekeeper. One of the things I realized was if I wanted to produce something that was creating more income, I had to invest in someone doing the things that were taking up my time and not allowing me to produce larger results. So we got a housekeeper. I'll tell you, that freed up half of the day and almost all of the day on the weekend. I also began to engage and invite my children, my boys, into doing things with me. Helping clean the house, helping with chores, helping do dishes. And what was really interesting was they took great pride in doing it, and they did it quite well. And so as I began to create these clearings, what I found was 15 to almost 20 hours in the week that I didn't know I had available. But this was the other interesting thing. I also had to give up things that really didn't serve me, like talking on the phone and gossiping, like sitting on the stoop and just talking for no reason. So I really began to look at where was I spending my time, and was I doing things that were producing results, or was I doing things that were just things that had no outcome? And so I became very outcome driven as I built my schedule. And as I cleared out, and this is where the concept comes from, clearing in time, as I cleared out the things that weren't moving my life forward and the things that weren't serving me, and I created the space, I actually found hours in time that I could actually focus on doing the things that were going to move my life forward. That one decision changed everything for me. It changed how I looked at my time, but it also changed how I respected my time, but also how people also began to treat me and how they also respected my time. And I also began to understand the difference between being busy, running, and actually being productive, which is outcome driven. It changed everything and how I did everything. It also changed how I looked and valued time. So why I wanted to do this video is, you know, September's rolling around and people are coming to the end, and you might have some goals. It may be your health goals, it may be business goals, but this is a time where we reevaluate. And what I will say to you, that every goal that is worthy of your life needs to have a clearing, a space in time where you put quality energy and quality focus to it. This thing called multitasking doesn't actually work. It's focused energy that gets you where you want. So how are you clearing time and creating the space for the things that are going to move your life forward, whether that be your health, whether that be your business, whether that be your finances, whether it's quality time with people you love and adore, whatever it is, are you creating your clearing in time? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this video. This is one of my favorite topics. I'd love to hear from you. Take care, and I'm going to continue this topic later this week. Bye-bye.